Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
Well, he's back, and it is a good thing. Pastor Bob Lepine, he's a pastor, author, husband, father. He does it all. We're talking about the book that he put together, Build a Stronger Marriage, The Path to Oneness. Bob, how are you?
Good to be with both of you guys. Merry Christmas.
Good to have you back. Merry Christmas to you. So let's start off that way. What happens in the Lepine family household around Christmas time? What kind of fun do you guys have?
You know, we had the team meeting yesterday. My wife and I sat down because it's menu planning time as we get ready for. We will have at one meal 18 of us around two tables.
Wow.
And I'm thinking that sounds like fun. My wife is thinking that sounds like torture. Not the gathering around the table, but all of the preparation that's required. And I guess I've just always assumed that the magic Christmas fairies come in and take care of all of that food. And she's telling me
that doesn't happen that way. I thought it did.
So we've been mapping out food strategies and what our plans are and what I'm responsible for. So we're getting all ready for the celebration. We will have 4 of our 5 children here this Christmas and
awesome.
8 of our 10 grandchildren here this Christmas. So we're looking forward to that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was going to recommend a book for you, Bob, before, so you don't make this mistake again. It's Build a Stronger Marriage, Path to Oneness, Bob Lepine. You know, we don't have 18 plus, but I think we have like 7 or 8 this year with a fiance, a girlfriend of one. And so this year I decided, because usually we're wiped out after we've cooked. And we thought, why not order Chinese? And that's what we're going to do.
That sounds like the perfect plan. In fact, we will have one carry-out Chinese meal as a part of the whole celebration. So we'll be right there with you.
Yeah,
you have to. It's a Christmas tradition, I think.
Yes, it is.
Chinese food. Yeah,
that's awesome. Build a Stronger Marriage, The Path to Oneness, Bob Lepine, and he writes from experience, and it is oh so good. Little catch up, Bob. What have you heard from folks that have picked it up, read it, maybe finished it by now? What have they been saying?
They've been saying, thank you for sharing all of the mistakes you made in your marriage so that we can benefit from what you've done wrong all these years. You know, I have been meeting regularly with a couple in our church who contacted me about 6 months ago, and they just said, you know, we're okay, but it's not where it should be. It was, and I so appreciated the fact that this couple, that they didn't wait until their marriage was totaled and then say, can you help? They noticed the little knock or the little, the tires wobbling. And they said, can we get an adjustment? Can we get an alignment or a tune up? And so we've been sitting down and just going through the book, kind of section by section. And it's been, what they've said is it's been great to have these conversations and to unearth some of the things that just you don't take time to talk about, or you don't think to talk about in the midst of the day to day. And I wrote the book with this idea in mind, that an older couple could sit down with a younger couple, a pastor with another couple, that it would be a team sport, not just, I mean, a husband and wife can go through it themselves, but I think it helps to have another couple saying, you know, we've been through that too. And here's how it worked for us. And it kind of normalizes the dysfunction in a marriage, because we tend to think our marriage is dysfunctional and everybody else's is great. And the reality is we're all dysfunctional in our marriages. And if we can just get that out on the table at the beginning, that'll help.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was going to point out just in the explanation about your book. It says all marriages face seasons of distress and frustration. But a lot of times when we go into marriage, we may have heard that, but we think, oh, but we're so in love that will never happen to us. And everything's just going to be perfect and rosy. And then seasons come and you're like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, we watch too much Hallmark Channel before we get married, or listen to too many pop songs. I mean, if you built your marriage based on what you hear in pop songs, you would think this is just all, you forget the, you don't bring me flowers, you don't sing me love songs part of it. And this is where we've just got to recalibrate and recognize that it shouldn't be the culture that teaches us about marriage. It should be the Bible. And the Bible keeps telling us we have to come back to fixing what is broken in us. We've got to keep making course corrections and adjustments. I tell our congregation, we have to re-believe the gospel every day, and we have to live that out in our marriage relationship.
Bob, that is so good. Pastor Bob Lepine, author, pastor, husband. I failed to mention VO guru, voiceover guru. You hear him with Alistair Begg Monday through Friday here at Faith Talk Atlanta. Build a stronger marriage. The path to oneness. Bob Lepine. Bob, I love what you said, because isn't it true? I mean, a husband and wife can read this book and should read this book, but sometimes there's got to be a party that's not in the relationship.
Yeah.
A pastor, a strong, mature friend. And kudos to the couple you were talking about being mature and saying, hey, there's a little ding here, little ding there. Let's sit down and work it out. That's not as common as we would like. That is so mature for them. But I love what you say. Get somebody, read this book, yes, but get somebody like a pastor, a leader, and let's walk through this together. Because we all know this, right? Being married for so long, sometimes it's like we're at a stalemate.
Right. Well, and as I sat down with this couple I'm talking about 2 weeks ago, I said to them, okay, over the summer, if you had given your marriage a grade, a 1 to 10 scale, where would you have put it? And she said, I was probably at a 2 or a 3 in our marriage. And he said, I was more like a 7. And I find that's true.
Yeah.
The guys are always like, yeah, it's fine. And the wife is like, no, it's not. But I said, where would you say it is today? And both of them said, I think we would both say we're in the 8 to 9 territory. And here's what I said. I said, a lot of people would get here and they'd go, okay, so we can kind of skip going through the book at this point. We fixed what was wrong. But I said, you guys are smart. Let's go all the way through this, because let's not try to build a strong foundation when the storm is on us. Let's try to build it in the dry times so that when the storm comes, the foundation is there.
I like that. And Bob, as just the name of the book itself, The Path to One, Building a Strong Marriage, The Path to Oneness. Sometimes we might think oneness, well, that sounds so zen and whatnot. But when we think about marriage and the way it portrays our relationship with Christ and coming together as one, a lot of times as we go through marriage, sometimes we don't realize it, but we drift further and further apart, and we have 2 instead of 1, right?
Right. And I think people need to know that's the natural drift in a marriage relationship.
Yeah.
It is not natural for us to drift together. It's natural for us to drift apart. And it's why we have to build a stronger marriage, because it doesn't just evolve that way. We have to be intentional and proactive in doing it. And there are 3 passages I'd point people to help understand this idea of oneness. In Philippians chapter 2, the Apostle Paul starts that chapter. He's in prison and he's writing to a church, and he says, really, if you want to know what will bring joy to me while I'm here in prison, it will be if you all are of the same mind, if you have the same passions, if you're intent on the same purpose. If I know that you guys are all pulling in the same direction and that you're one-minded about what you're doing, I'll have great joy. And we think about that in a church context, and it's appropriate to apply it there, but it should be true in a marriage context. We should be one-minded. What are the big things that we're not going to be one-minded about everything. My wife's a vegetarian. I believe vegetarian is the Indian word that means lousy hunter. So
thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
So we're not of one mind when it comes to our dietary approach, and there are times when we're driving and I'll say, turn here. And she'll go, no, I want to go straight. So we're not of one mind on that. But on the big stuff, on what really matters, we've got a one-mindedness. We need to be, that's what oneness looks like, pursuing with passion those things that are most important to us, and then having the same agenda, being on the same mission together in our marriage. So that's what, when we're talking about oneness, that's the passage I'd point people to. Let's see, Ephesians 4 says that we're to pursue the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. So we want that oneness to be peaceful. We want to resolve conflict when it happens. And then the last one is in John 17, in the great high priestly prayer, Jesus prays that his people would be one. Again, we apply it to the church. I think we need to apply it to marriage as well. Husbands and wives would be one. And then he goes on to say that the world will know that I am who I claim to be. So there's something about our oneness that makes a statement to a watching world about who Jesus is. And I think we need to keep that at the center of our marriage.
Yeah.
So good, Bob. Pastor, author Bob Lepine, Build a Stronger Marriage, The Path to Oneness. Real quick, we got to take a break in just a second. But Bob, what's next after Christmas 2023?
A nap, a long nap is the first thing that's next. No, I'm continuing, obviously, to do my work as a pastor, working with a church planting organization called the Great Commission Collective, and then doing some work with a radio network called Family Radio and helping with their morning show. So I got a lot going on, and looking at a book on helping people understand assurance of salvation. How can we know that we're saved?
Wow.
So good. Pastor Bob Lepine, pastor, author, husband, father, and more. Check out the book, Build a Stronger Marriage, The Path to Oneness. NewGrowthPress.com is a great place to go to. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.